Hello, everyone. Welcome back to day 4 of RGV Wellness Week. Today, we have Meghan Garcia, who's going to be talking to you about energy, burnout, and balance. Meghan from Obscura Holistic Therapy. They are a licensed trauma therapist who helps people find greater safety in mind, body, and spirit through work with somatics, with energy work, and using cultural practices. They help to guide people to notice the hidden ways energy drains away, to release what isn't theirs to carry, and to ground themselves before exhaustion builds into burnout. I hope you enjoy this presentation.
My name is Meghan Garcia. I'm a licensed professional trauma therapist, and I help people find greater safety in their mind, body, and spirit through somatics and energy work and cultural practices. And I'm going to share a little bit more about energy and burnout and fatigue, what that looks like, how it tends to show up, and some things we can start doing to help ourselves feel more resilient and able to show up in our daily life and in our responsibilities. So many of us are exhausted for a variety of reasons, and some of the main reasons that I tend to see, especially in my work with others, is systemic issues, cognitive overload, and a lack of an energetic hygiene routine. So, in regards to systemic issues and how that contributes to our exhaustion, despite maybe getting 8 hours or even longer of sleep if we're lucky, is things that are showing up in the media and things that we're overhearing. The next thing is cognitive overload. So there's this flooding of information. We have more access to the internet and technology than ever. So whether that's looking at your laptop for work-related reasons or for pleasure, there's a lot of scrolling that goes on. Life can get overwhelming, work, family, other responsibilities, and it's easy to scroll and think that it's helping us tune out and rest. But really, you're still activating a lot going on in the mind. Our eyes get locked in, our brain opens up even more tabs to process the information. There's really no rest happening at all. So that's another way that exhaustion ends up creeping up in ways that we might not expect. And the third option, or I guess, that's right, the third reason that we tend to get exhausted is lack of energetic hygiene. So many of us were not taught how to cleanse and recharge ourselves before and after social situations, after heavy client sessions, and after hearing disturbing news, things that were shocking, etc. And what I mean by energetic hygiene is taking time to cleanse the body in a certain way, release energy that is not necessarily yours to carry, maybe taking time for sensory deprivation, low lighting, things like that, and then grounding the self or pouring back into the self. A lot of us don't really know how to do that. And if we do, we're not doing it very often. So these are a couple of things that all pile on together that contribute to a level of exhaustion that naps or regular sleep doesn't seem to necessarily alleviate. Something else I want to touch on is how all of this can lead to burnout. And there's a difference between burnout and fatigue, and that can be difficult to distinguish. So, something to look out for and to know is that fatigue that we all tend to experience generally arises from overexerting yourself, lack of sleep, poor nutrition, getting ill, especially post COVID. A lot of our immune systems took a hit. And so usually we can end up balancing out by getting some rest, getting better sleep or better quality sleep, I should, taking short breaks, things like that, maybe going on a brief vacation, because the rest of our body is still pretty well intact biologically. And so usually those little resets are helpful, especially when we think about you've had a heavy week, maybe you take a Saturday to sleep all day, do nothing, and then usually by the time Monday rolls around, you're feeling more refreshed, right? That might be related to the general fatigue. Now, when we're talking about burnout, there is a lot of difference there in that it's like an ongoing fatigue. There's chronic stress, a chronic overwhelm. You're pushing past your limitations. You're working past the time you're supposed to get off work. We're taking on extra tasks on top of our deadlines. We're committing to additional things that may even be fun, beneficial, like more outings, spending more time with friends, hosting different events, things like that. Even that, you're still adding to your plate on top of already being your window of tolerance. And so you may start to feel like you're dreading going to work or dreading socializing with others. You may feel things similar to what depression might feel like, not wanting to get out of bed, feeling really sad, feeling lack of motivation. You may also notice feeling headaches that come up frequently, gastrointestinal issues, musculoskeletal pain, and again, kind of that lowered immune function. So the really big difference here is that taking a week or two off or napping a bit more or taking some of these breaks, it's not going to get us back to a baseline like it would get us closer if we had just the fatigue. And when we're at burnout, we're past that point. We've already crossed that threshold. And so it takes anywhere from, I would say, about 6 months or so to real years or more, and especially if you're neurodivergent, it can take even longer to recuperate from burnout. And recovering from burnout is difficult in the sense that many people have had to quit their job entirely. They've had to reset and relieve themselves of a lot of responsibilities and also, again, things that bring joy. So maybe we're spending a lot less time going and enjoying time with others or taking additional trips or things like that. It's truly about doing the bare minimum with hydrating, eating, and a lot of resting. So there is a huge difference there. And what can add to a lot of this is the hidden drains on our systems that come up daily. There are energy drainers that many of us don't think about or really know to look for, so we don't end up addressing them. So quite a few things that I notice when I work with clients is, again, a lot of high sensory stimulation can end up being an energy drainer. And again, these could be things that are like really fun and pleasurable, and it's not always the things that are obviously burdensome. So think about going to a Comic-Con or a dance or even going to a flea market or having a girls' weekend or whatever that is, right? A lot of that can bring up a lot of high emotions. We're laughing a lot, we're having fun, maybe we're going out and having drinks. There's a lot of lights, a lot of sounds, a lot of scenery change. And so even if that doesn't seem like something that would be draining to the system, like a boring meeting or, things we don't necessarily want to do, it can still contribute. Again, especially if you're neurodivergent, because your body and your brain is taking in all the sounds, all of the colors, all of the people, details of people's actions, reactions, and expressions. And so all of that builds upon itself to where it drains the energy system throughout time. And maybe that's why you notice after those types of outings or after concerts, again, things like that are meant to be high energy and fun. It may take a couple of hours, like a weekend, to recover because there was a lot that you took in. So those can be different ways that energy gets drained that we don't always think about. So when people feel depleted and they're coming to me with these different issues, what I often see as helpful and has given great results is utilizing energy work, community resources, and cultural practices. So some things that I teach clients are not only how to ground themselves with energy work, and this is coming from traditional Chinese medicine and other modalities that really focus on acupressure, feet, meridians, different areas of the body. We practice that so they're able to ground themselves in that moment. And then they're able to recognize throughout the day when their system might need some attention. So we're not waiting until the last minute to ground ourselves. I also show them how to clear stagnant and heavy energy that they've absorbed. Quite a lot of people that I work with are very empathic. They care a lot. They're in a caretaking position, or they're in some sort of role where they've had to be the strong one for others, or people tend to gravitate towards them and share a lot of heavy burdens. And so that is usually something my clients take on and hold, and they are not always able to discern what is their own emotion and their own heaviness and what is something that they've carried from an interaction and stuck with them. So we not only learn to ground the body and reconnect with that interoception, but I also show clients different ways with energy work and cultural practices how to cleanse the physical body, tune into the emotional body, and work with the energetic body to get rid of the cobwebs and the muck, so to speak, that gets stuck in the aura. And of course, again, those cultural practices. So something that you can start as soon as today, but definitely this week, something that you can start incorporating to help with fatigue, to help hopefully prevent or delay burnout, is starting to incorporate a cleansing and grounding practice at least once a day. That can start before you walk out the door or start your daily responsibilities. It could definitely be something you do towards the end of the day before you go to sleep, or after you put the kids to sleep, something like that, at least once a day for sure. And a cleansing practice could look like a couple of different things. For example, going into the shower and imagining that the water that is streaming down you is releasing everything that you've been carrying that day. And this can be something super simple. I know it's really hot outside, but if there's a shaded area, at least where you can get near the grass or in the grass, taking a few moments to sit or stand on the earth is a great way to ground. Maybe you lean up against a tree and your feet is planted in the earth, and imagining the roots growing from your feet into the center of the earth. And with each breath, focusing on the heart center, you can take a breath in, really focus on the heart. And as you exhale, kind of imagine energy pushing down into the earth until your roots keep growing and you connect to the center of the earth, which can look like a ball of light or the crystal sphere, or whatever resonates with you. And so from there, your roots attach to the center of the earth. And then the intention and visualization is breathing inward, drawing up energy from the earth and again back to the root center. So there's a more elaborate practice for that, but that's one way at least to get started. And the earth, sometime to breathe, really feel your feet on the ground. So I hope that this was helpful. There are a variety of different practices that can be as simple or as elaborate as you like. The great thing about energy work and our cultural practices is that we don't always need too much outside of ourselves. There is a lot that we can do with our own body, own hands, own mind, own spirit that is able to help with that exhaustion. But something that I do really want to encourage is leaning into the community focus. There is community where you can share some of these burdens and talk about what's going on, learning skills from each other, healing circles, Reiki sharing circles, those where you journal together, ground outside, meditate. A lot of this is not meant to be done in isolation. And whether that's you and I working together or you finding a local circle and space, that is something that I highly encourage, something that not only helps with that emotional fatigue, but it's going to help overall when we're feeling depressed or hopeless and helpless, knowing that there are people outside of us that care and are able to be there for us. So some of the main things that I offer and that have been helpful with exhaustion is definitely Reiki energy healing. I'm a Reiki master practitioner. We work with the energy of your body using a non-touching modality. And so that is something that can be helpful, whether it's 30 minutes or an hour. That's something that I'm able to do distance or in person. The other thing, again, that has been really helpful is doing yin whether, again, that's like a 15-minute, 30-minute, or there is a 60-minute cleansing that I do that also involves Reiki. That's like a deep energetic cleansing. So those are two of the main offers that I have as far as Reiki healing services and then limpias that are drawn from ancestral knowledge and cultural practices. To wrap all of this up, really take notice of what might be draining your energy, whether you realize it or not. Is it the environment that you spend a lot of time in, whether that's work or socially? Is it your home environment? And maybe what are some small changes that you can make, especially if it's the home environment? Are there things that you're using to distract yourself that are actually energy drainers as opposed to energy supporters? And what is one small thing that you've learned today that you can take throughout the week to start practicing? Is it cleansing? Is it grounding? Is it a little bit of both? What matters is continuity. Maybe we're not doing it every day just yet, but coming and circling back around to it as often as you can is what matters most. Thank you for your time today. It was great sharing this with you, and I hope this was helpful. Thank you.